So this is the second DLC for Fallout 4 Far Harbor. This is much bigger than Automatron, as you will soon find out from watching this video. I'm attempting this at level 30 and it's absolutely fine. In some cases I might even be too strong, so don't worry too much about that. You'll find yourself getting gored by a gulper quite early on and your health bar takes a right ticking, so yeah, you'll feel right at home at that level, at that range. So in this video I'm going to be taking on two of the side missions. I'm not really going to show you too much of the story. The missions are to help the Mariner help rebuild the hull that's been damaged from an invasion, and also to help Cassie Dalton avenge her family. Now each Cassie Dalton has 3 separate missions she gives you, each with different rewards and each with different sort of circumstances for you to confront. So the first thing to say about coming to Far Harbor is to make sure that you are fully stocked up on Radaway, Radax and Stimpaks, because let me tell you, you're going to need all of them. There are vendors you can come and see at Far Harbor to purchase those items, but it's much better to have a nice little stock of them before you make the crossover, as it's not exactly very easy to get back and forth between the two places as they're two separate hubs. Now it's also good to have the radiation resistant perks as well. They will definitely come in handy. For instance, chem resistant to reduce your addiction, because you'll be popping a lot of Radax as you go along. Aquaboy, which helps you swim underwater and actually increases your immunity to the radiation. Rad resistant, self-explanatory. Chemist, and also ghoulish, which actually means that the radiation regenerates your health rather than depletes it. So that's well worth having. If you can max out those perks, definitely do that. So to start the actual Far Harbor mission, you have to listen to the radio for the Valentine Agency. And what they do, you head to Diamond City after that, and then they'll give you the mission, tell you give a bit of brief background about it, and then you have to head towards the Parsons State Insane Asylum and the Parsons Creamery at the top right of the map. When you head there, you'll actually find the Nakano residence. Now basically, to give you a brief idea of what's happened, you've got a daughter who's run away from home. Her name is Kasumi. If you know the Mass Effect reference there, thumbs up. And Kasumi has, well, both mother and father have different interpretations of what's happened. Her father believes that she's been kidnapped and taken away, and so that's why he's hired the investigators. The mother believes that she just wants to be an independent woman and wants to find her life, and is feeling a bit constrained by life at home. Now, interestingly, Kasumi at 19, what you'll sort of find out that there's a reason that she has left home and gone to Far Harbor. Well, I won't sort of explain that too much here, but essentially she had a close relationship with her grandfather, and her grandfather taught her how to rebuild things, and she gained a bit of an obsession with building and repairing things, and that obsession has kind of led her down this path. And her father feels that the grandfather might have been a bit of a bad influence on her as a result. But the last thing that she was known to be working on was a radio, and from that point on you kind of look for the radio, try to find further clues, which then lead you to Far Harbor. And there's a lovely little twist on that which I won't spoil. Now the town of Far Harbor is built on a coastal pier, and there has a colony of synthetics known as Acadia. Now, the content actually raises some very strong and personal political dilemmas for you to kind of sift through. There's a lot of choices you're going to be faced with that are actually going to make you think a lot about what you're saying and what you're doing at any one time. There doesn't seem to be a straight answer either way, which is really nice. Because you've got basically involved in this content, not only have you got problems with synthetics, you've also got the children of Atom playing an extremely big part, and of course you've got the fisherman community which you encounter at the beginning of the game. Now, from a technical perspective, actually just to quickly illustrate it, I've just picked up the tools for the Mariner, so I'm going to be able to take those back in a bit. From a technical perspective, this build is on the Xbox One, so you're seeing this is at full 1080p 60 FPS. I have experienced a couple of hard crashes. Now these are really just appear to be very random at the moment. I was randomly running along the game, and it was a section that I previously passed with no issues whatsoever, but then when I did it a second time, the game just locked up completely, so I had to force close and restart. That happened a couple of times, but other than that, I've not really experienced any other glitches or issues, which for a Bethesda DLC is actually quite impressive. And even Automatron, the content before this, had a glitched quest where you had to kind of discipline Timmy, and if you did that in a certain way to begin with, then you wouldn't be able to get what you needed, and you had to reset the content all over again. and it's certainly nowhere near as bad as Blood Money for New Vegas on the 360. If you've ever played that, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, because that game, it made me physically ill. There was constant lockups, hard crashes, bugs and glitches. It was actually, after coming away from that, it really found it very difficult to play any of the other contents that followed it, because I wasn't sure that any of them would be any better. But yeah, this is definitely Fallout. I mean, you see me fighting a trapper here. These guys are actually bandits, but their mind has been kind of tainted by the radiation, the fog that you see in. You're also picking up bottle caps from things like wolf fur, so you know, it's all the crazy, quirky things you'd expect from a Fallout Bethesda game. But what's quite impressive is the atmosphere set and the tone in this content. The musical score in the game is genuinely quite skin crawling. The environment's very dark and desolate, grey and muggy. The foggy hue all over the environment just looks quite superb, and you're looking over at the water and seeing the effects of the ripples in the water and the sky. It really does kind of give you that kind of Twin Peaks feel as you're walking around. It's genuinely quite mysterious and elegant in that sense. And that's quite interesting, because as you go through the content, you learn more about the history of Far Harbor. And Far Harbor did used to be a tourist town many moons ago, but it was eventually run down. It was constantly being overwhelmed and consumed by this fog, and as a result, creatures started coming out of the fog, like gulpers and ghouls and trappers and crawlers and many other odd beings. And so as a result, the fog kept moving around the island, and the inhabitants had to try and find areas which weren't consumed by the fog, and as a result they've been trying to keep fighting it back. But even though they fight it back temporarily, it just keeps coming back stronger every time. So, and what's interesting about that is that some of the townsfolk have got their own beliefs on how this keeps happening. Like the fishermen, some of the fishermen believe that the children of Atom are responsible, because they pray to the radiation and they're drawing the fog out. Then some blame synthetics for it. So it's really quite interesting, and as I say, it really sort of lends itself to the political and personal struggles, and really will make you have to think about your choices as you go through the content. But genuinely, Far Harbor does a fantastic job of building tension, creating mystery and developing intrigue. There's a real sense of mystery going through it, which I think was lacking in some areas of the main campaign, and to an extent there's a better story in this content than there was in a lot of the main game. Fascinating psychology, sort of the appearances aren't everything, belief isn't what you make it, has radiation changed beings in unexpected ways, and who are you in really, and equally, are those who pledge to help actually helping? So fog afflicts Far Harbor. It's a radioactive fog, and as I say, things do emerge from that fog. But as a guide at the beginning of the game, you get offered someone called Old Longfellow, and he can actually join you as a permanent companion in the game. He is actually just an old grizzled veteran who likes to fight and likes to drink, but he does have his own story too, and his own reasons for being out there with you, so it's quite interesting to hear what he has to say. But going to Arcadia is the aim of the game, to find Kasumi and its colony of synths, and once that initial mission has been completed, then you can take him along with you throughout the duration and into Fallout 4. You can also perform a lot of side quests for people, such as collect the power tools or kill these ghouls, as I'm doing here. But you can also do other things as well, so the actual main quest is there, and you can also collect new items and new equipment, and there's a lot of new weapons to find as well as some new enemies. So there's a lot of new things been added to Far Harbor that weren't in Fallout before. It's just very beautiful looking, the weathered trees, the fragile ground, the foggy hue, the surprising enemy variation, and the map is enormous. There's definitely a good 20 hours worth of playthrough here, which is astounding for a DLC. But the story is interesting as well, as there's the real conflict with the synthetics, their role in society, the religious practices of the children of Atom causing the fog to spread, people living day to day, the surprising level of emotional depth. Far Harbor is a fantastic piece of content. It's not only is it the biggest Bethesda have ever done, I would say arguably it's one of the best they've ever done. That's covering the Elder Scrolls content too. So I would thoroughly recommend you take a look at this. Again, this is the Xbox One build, but you can get it on PC and PlayStation 4. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. We'll see you next time.